Going to do an insulation resistance test on a three-phase board or three-phase installation. Rules apply always, of course, that we've got to make sure it's safely isolated because it's a dead test and we need to use the right type of equipment. Before we start, we need to make sure that anything that could be damaged by the test voltage is disconnected, isolated or bypassed. Any dimmer switches are bypassed, lamps removed if possible. Just those sort of precautions for two reasons. One, we don't want to damage the equipment, and two, it will give us false readings anyway, and we'll be looking for a fault that may not be there. So first part of the test, or the first part of the job, is to check that everything is disconnected as should be. As far as the board goes, the board is isolated, but we need to make sure that all of the circuit breakers are on because we're going to test the complete installation. We're going to use an insulation resistance tester, and we're going to use a test voltage of 500 volts. Because it's a 500 volt test, you have to push the button to liven up the probes. And for that reason, of course, you do need to push the button. So you're going to, if you're not careful, it can be very difficult trying to hold probes on and push the button at the same time. I've got a special probe here, which has got a button on the end of it, which allows me to operate the device from the probe, which is obviously a good idea, makes life a lot easier. One of the first things I need to do when I'm carrying out an insulation resistance test is to make sure, of course, the probes are in good condition. The ends of the probes are protected to comply with GS38 because this is really a 500 volt test. GS38 applies to any equipment over 50 volts. I also need to make sure that the instrument is working properly. So to do that, first of all, I need to do a test with the leads together, push the button, and you can see I've got a very low reading. In fact, I'm getting 0. Carry out the same test with the leads apart, push the button again, and now the reading should be over range. Okay, with that done, I know full well that the instrument is working properly. So all I need to do now is go to the board and test between, first of all, line and neutral, push the button, and again, I've got a reading that's over range. L2 to neutral, again, reading over range. L3 to neutral, again, reading over range. L1 to L2, reading over range. L1 to L3, reading over range. L2 to L3, reading over range. And of course, while I was carrying out those tests, particularly the test between live conductors or line conductors and neutral, I should go around and operate any switches which may be controlling lights and devices, just to make sure that I'm testing the whole of the circuit. The other test I need to do, of course, is between all live conductors and earth. So make sure the probe's secure onto an earth point, test between neutral and earth, should be over range. L1 to earth, again over range. L2 to earth, again over range. L3 to earth, again over range. Just to make sure the machine's still working, probes together, and I've got a reading of 0 again. And that's an insulation resistance test on a 3-phase installation.